Hello and welcome. You're watching Property Hotline with me, Kavita Krishnan, on Magicbricks Now, India's first property business channel. Today we are answering questions related to buying, selling or investing in property. Our expert for the day is Arvind Nandan. Now, Arvind is the COO and Executive Director at Liases Foras. Arvind, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We have Prabhakar who's called in. Prabhakar, tell us what's your question.
See, there are two plots I have got at a village called Mutluru village, Nandi, Hubli, Chikmagalur, Taluk.
Okay.
Measuring about 135 square meters. I purchased about 4 or 5 years back.
Okay.
Each one 135 square meters. Should I sell them now or should I keep them? What is the position and at what rate should I have to sell?
Okay. What would you say, Arvind? Chikmagalur is what he's saying. Two plots. Should he sell them or hold them?
Yeah. Nandi Hopli village, Chikballapur, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I think, Mr. Prabhakar, what you're asking is something very relevant. And Kavita, we have answered such queries, similar queries quite a few times. So Mr. Prabhakar, please remember, you have invested in a futuristic but a very good place. Try and stick with it, unless you have an urgency to encash your investment right now. Property markets behave in a manner which is quite synchronous with infra development, urban development, etc. The urban development, infra development is already expanding. You will feel the impact. But my suggestion is, if you don't have some big hurry to sell it, try and look at a minimum of 7 years horizon. Keep it for that long. If you can keep it even longer, say about 10 years or so, when you do that, you'll see that your prices, the prices that you fetch will be about 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 times of what you have invested. So in today's market, prices would be, roughly in the range of about 3,000 to 4,000 rupees a square feet, square feet. Sorry, I'm very sorry, square feet. But if it is, within a society or if it is an enclosed development, it could be slightly different as well. But these prices today can vary depending on, where you are and what's its location.
Arvind, also tell us this. Now, we get a lot of questions regarding this area. Obviously, people are looking at, like you said, it's a futuristic location, but there are quite a few people who are buying into property here. Yeah. What are the drivers for this location? You said in 5 to 7 times appreciation in the next 10 years. What is driving the growth over here?
Look, so we need to understand the overall urban development in the city per se. What happens is the city has developed over a period of, let's say, about 100 years or so. Gradually, with the influx of new population, with tech companies, with new age economy setting in, the city is expanding in all directions. This is one of those belts where the city is expanding because obviously it cannot support all the new economic activity, all the new population within those established or original precincts. So therefore it is expanding. It is only natural, that it will go on expanding. Very fortunately, the city has an ability to expand in all directions in this case. So it's going north, it's going south, southeast, southwest. So this is something which is also very much on the radar. It has already started to feel the impact of good quality development. I would say stick with it unless there is a compulsion.
Right, Prabhakar, that's your answer there. Stick with it. The city is growing and you will benefit from its growth as the city expands.
Oh, is it?
You will see a lot of development coming towards the area where you're holding your plot.
No.
So hold on to it. You can expect at least 5 to 7 times growth in the next 7 to 10 years. Let's move on. Sam has written in through email. He says that he's interested in buying a 2 BHK in a project called Rohan Mithila by Rohan Builders in Viman Nagar in Pune. The project is near the Pune airport. He wants to know the current rate over here and how much appreciation he can expect in the future. He also wants to know how safe the location is. Now, Viman Nagar is quite a sought after location in Pune. What would you have to say about this particular project?
Look, there are 2 or 3 points to be made here, Kavita. Particularly for Mr. Sam. Number one, Viman Nagar is a very established location. Obviously, it's very close to the airport, so you do keep that in reckoning all the time. But it's a very well established location. It is not one of those locations like Hinjewadi or certain other places which have just come up and are still climbing. It is something which has sort of matured and established itself into a good location. Speaking on this particular project, Mithila. Now, this project was launched about, I think, about 3 years ago. It came up with quite a bit of bang or a bit of reckoning in the market, and quite rightly so, because of the location, because of the brand name. However, it actually started to hit a plateau some time back. The prices today are roughly in the range of about 7,100 to 7,300 rupees a square foot, while the launch was roughly between 4,200 to 4,500. So appreciation, a very decent, good quality appreciation has taken place. Going forward, I think because the markets overall are not really reacting in a very highly positive manner, it will eventually climb, but you have to look at a very long horizon. If you're looking at next couple of years, then probably you're not going to make a very substantial appreciation. Also remember that because of the certain issues that came up, maybe some construction related issues, the properties look and feel
in
itself
this particular property,
in this particular one, look and feel itself is not really like a very new property. So certain other things have come as a bit of dampener. Also the fact that there are quite a few other projects also available, like Lunkart's, Marvel's projects. So you put everything together, you know that you are in a decent, good quality property, but you're not really expecting a very significant jump immediately. So I would say if you are okay
but
with a steady...
there is scope for more appreciation in this project, because like you said, they launched it at around 3,500,
4,200.
And if I look at the chart that we are showing right now on our screens, prices in Viman Nagar are ranging between around 7,813, run up of 6% over the last 1 year. Do you expect more appreciation over here? Because it's almost doubled already.
Yeah, it has. I mean, if not exactly, but it has nearly doubled. It's actually become 70% or so. So that's a very good rise. In the graph also, you'll probably see that, it's beginning to slow down a little.
Right,
yeah?
right.
And I think that trend will persist. So you have to take into account the fact that it is rising, it may continue to rise, but it's not probably going to rise in a phenomenal manner going forward as well. You have to account for a steady, a gradual rise going forward, not a very significant jump.
Right. So Sam, that's your answer there. If you are looking at this particular project, it did go through certain difficulties. It will look a little old, but it is a good project. There are other options also in the same locality, and Viman Nagar is, like I said earlier, very sought after market. You can expect some growth over here, but do not expect it to suddenly spurt. You're going to see very gradual and steady growth in this market. Let's move on. Next question comes through Pranesh. Pranesh has written in on our website, www.mbnow.in. He says that he's booked a property in Prestige Falcon City in pre-launch for 5,899 rupees per square foot in 2014. The possession will be given in 2019. He bought this for end use, but he says he hasn't seen much appreciation here. The current rate is 6,099 rupees per square foot. He wants to know if it's a good investment or if he should move to something with a quicker handover. He wants us to suggest a property in Kanakapura Road. He's looking for a 3 BHK and his budget is around 1.25 crore rupees. Now, he says it's for end use, so I don't know why he's really looking for appreciation. And it's not been too long. 2 years is what he's probably held it for. And those 2 years, the market has not really been great. What would you say?
Yeah, I think, this has a bigger issue contained within. When you're looking at a property for end use, of course, it's always good to have more the merrier, as we would always say. But you should not really be concerned about how much appreciation in quick time will it give you, because you're going for an end use. However, if you have a dual psychology, or if you have both the things in mind, that you're probably going to use it, but given a good opportunity, you might even want to flip it and, and cash it. In that case, you can probably look at this project from that perspective. Please remember one thing. The Prestige Falcon project is a large project, upwards of 400 apartments, more than 3 acres of development, and it's still, going to continue building. So you have a big project where you're investing or will invest, and you have to look at 4 to 5 years definitely for it to come to a fruition, for it to then start giving some results. So look at about 4-5 year period. Kanakpura by itself has a very good amount of supply. So, your appreciation may not jump significantly because there is a lot of competing stock. If you wanted options, there are several. I can name a couple of those, but, if you do your own search in the market, you'll find many. So there is, Purva Highlands, there is Shobha Forest View, there is Mantri Serenity, and so on. So there are quite a few. most of them will fit in your 1.2 to 1.3 crore budget as well. So I don't see any problem.
And also, Arvind, correct me if I'm wrong over here. I mean, under construction property, obviously, there is high risk and high return is what you look at when you put in your money in an under construction property. But I believe, if I'm not wrong, most of the appreciation would come when people can actually visibly see that property when it is nearing completion. Isn't that when you see most of the run up in prices and not in the initial first 2 years?
Very true, Kavita. You actually get appreciation when there is something which is happening on ground. However, remember, the biggest upside is made between the start of the construction and the completion of the project. That's the time when the risk is increasingly mitigated, and therefore the appreciation also happens quite quick. However, you have to remember the state of the market, the state of competing stock, etc., and then sort of try and take a guesstimate on how much appreciation you might have. The project is already underway. There is no chance that it's not going to be completed. There is quite a bit of existing competing supply. So if you put all this together, there is appreciation definitely in the making. Please don't expect 100% or a 70% kind of an appreciation in a very quick time. The markets, number one, are not in that state. The micro market that you are in is also not going to support that. So you will expect.
In fact, I don't think you're going to see 75 or 100%. You're not going to see prices double in any market across the country in the next couple of years. Expect steady growth, and I think that's what you should be happy with. So, Pranesh, like Arvind said, you're better off holding on to the property. It's a good brand. It's a huge project. It will take some time. But when it does get completed, you will see a decent appreciation over there. So it's better to hold on to it. But if you do want to sell and buy, then you can look at other options within the area, though there is a lot of stock in that area at the moment. Let's move on. Hemlata has called in. Hemlata, tell us what's your question.
Hello.
Yes, Hemlata, tell us what's your question.
Madam, I'm calling from Hyderabad.
Yes.
I just want to know the rate in Damaiguda, madam, in Hyderabad. Damaiguda, there are some ventures, gated community. So I just went and inquired around 167 square yard with house. They are quoting around 28 lakhs.
Okay.
What is the exact rate, can I know, madam? I have two queries. And another one is at Ibrahimpatnam.
Okay, let's answer Damaiguda first. Stay with us, Hemlata. Arvind, what would you say? She's identified some gated communities in Damaiguda area. 28 lakhs is what they're quoting. Is that a fair price?
I think that's roughly okay. Damaiguda, first of all, it's quite removed from Secunderabad also. It's quite some distance. And whether you take an apartment about 1,000 square feet or you go for 150 to 170 square yard kind of a plot or a property of that size, the prices would roughly range in the band of 25 to 35 lakhs. So 28 lakhs, what you said just now, and I heard it for the first time, pretty much fits in that range. So I think you are roughly there, but do make specific inquiries, specific due diligences, because you never know. The market could be one thing, a specific property could be divergent. So you're quite right on the rate. Do your due diligences and fact finding, please. The next question.
Right, Hemlata, what's your other question?
The same, madam, 170 square yard with semi-finished house. It is actually auctioned by SBI. They have purchased.
Okay.
And now the party want to resell it for 2.5 lakhs. Is it worth buying?
How much lakhs? I'm sorry, I didn't get you there.
No, actually, the person who is selling has purchased this land with semi-finished house. It is through the bank auction they have purchased.
Okay, how much are they quoting?
They are quoting 5.5 lakhs, madam. 5.5 lakhs.
5.5 lakhs. Now, SBI has been doing a lot of these auctions, Arvind, and though, I mean, it is not in the lines of other bank auctions where, properties are coming at half the market price, but they're coming at a fairly fair price range. Also, she's buying from a bank. It can't be unsafe.
No, it can't be. But, this is a peculiar situation. I think we need to spend a couple of minutes on this. So, for Hemlata, for you, first please remember that you're buying a property from a bank. So, practically your background checks are more or less in place. You may want to do another round, that's fine. So, be assured on that. Number two, the important thing is, on a plot of land, when there is a semi-constructed kind of a thing, valuation-wise, it doesn't fetch you any value. So whatever value you are going to pay has to be for land. For all you know, you may have to demolish whatever semi-constructed structure is there. You may have to significantly spend on modifying it. So please keep in mind that if there is a value statement made on the basis that there is something existing, you have to discount that seriously. So 5.5 lakhs or 6 lakhs odd is pretty much an okay range for that kind of a property. On a square yard basis, in that market there are two very varying ranges. One is about 3,000 rupees a square yard. The higher range is 25 to 30,000 rupees a square yard. So within 3,000 or thereabout, I think this particular number sounds quite okay. But for Hemlata, she will have to do a lot of due diligence and fact finding on the ground, particularly regarding the structure that's there and the background of the property, etc. With SBI being in picture, I think a lot of that is already done. But make sure that you understand what exists on the property and you discount it properly.
And Hemlata, also what I understand is that SBI allows you to go and check the property before the auction. So if you do intend to bid in this auction, it would make sense for you to actually go on ground and check the property, see what is actually built, and then go and buy that. Right?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in. Before we move on, Arvind, I just wanted to ask you about this. Now, SBI has already started auctioning its properties, which they seize through SARFAESI. And the RBI has indicated that, other banks can look at actually monetizing their real estate holdings to an extent, or at least valuing it. Monetizing obviously will be the next step. Now, if somebody wants to buy in a bank auction like this, what are the things that they need to keep in mind? And also, how do you, typically in bank auctions, do they need to make an upfront payment? Can you get a home loan for something like this?
The home loan is viable, but it depends on situation to situation. So you have to basically check that with the specific bank and on that specific property. But as a general guideline, we need to understand that a lot of banks hold these properties which have come to them either through a charge or a lien or some other means. And they become extraordinarily big burdens. They become sort of NPAs. And that's where the banks have to definitely put them back in the market. When you take such a property, you are relatively sure that all the existing charges or the prior liens or any other outstanding dues that were there have been taken care. But despite that, please ensure that you have checked each of these things very carefully. Because most of those properties which come out in auctions are those that had run into some kind of financial or some kind of an issue, and that's why they were lying with the bank, and now they're being brought back in the market. Please make sure you have clearly understood every single aspect. Valuation, like we said with the previous query, will be discounted, from the market, but that's still fine. You will have to,
Right.
look at the market at that place. But keep this in mind that you have to make sure all the nuts and bolts.
Don't just sign the dotted line blindly because you're buying it from a bank. There is some due diligence that you need to do here as well in a bank auction, because this is property that was mortgaged to the bank, and where the owner of the property probably defaulted on a loan. So you need to get all that checked and then actually go and buy that property. I believe Musaddiq has called in. Musaddiq, tell us what's your question.
Yeah, good afternoon, madam. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I'm looking for a 1 BHK and my budget is around 25 lakhs. And I have narrowed down my search to an area of Taloja, Ulve and Panvel. In terms of appreciation, which will be the area will be best for investment purpose in next to 4 to 5 years?
Next 4 to 5 years, Taloja, Ulve and Panvel, all three very interesting markets. What would you say, Arvind? One can benefit from the Thane Belapur development, two can benefit from the airport. Which would you pick?
And then there is Sion Panvel Highway as well. So let me ask Mr. Musaddiq, Mr. Musaddiq, is this only for an investment or do you intend to use it for yourself sometime?
No, only main purpose for as an investment.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So, each of these markets, like we've discussed, Kavita, so many times, each of these markets is a very promising market. Each of them stands at certain different points on the property clock. Like in Bangalore, there are quite a few markets developing all across. Even across Mumbai, these markets are developing. So Panvel, which started earlier, is on a higher growth path, is always going to stay ahead in terms of, the values that it will fetch. But there is Ulve and there is Taloja. And, Mr. Musaddiq, if you don't mind, I wanted to add another option or maybe a couple of other options like Kamote, which is just north of Panvel. You could look at that as well, because there the properties are also coming up just outside Panvel, so they have a slight advantage in terms of pricing, and they will probably reap the same kind of rewards of appreciation in due time. So if you are looking at sheer volume of pricing, Panvel is going to stay ahead. But if you are looking at the maximum amount of climb that might happen, in my view, it could be either in Ulve or Taloja.
I was just going to ask you this, Arvind. You said Panvel is already ahead. So how do these markets really compare in terms of pricing? You also mentioned Kamote. So if we could just look at that. Now Panvel currently is priced at 4,985 rupees per square foot. That is the average price.
The average.
How do the other markets compare? Are they priced around the same range?
No, they're slightly lower. I mean, of course, you will get properties which are 4,000, 5,000 rupees a square foot, even in Ulve and in Taloja. But if you look at an average, the average is slightly lower. The order, I may not be exactly right, having not seen the statistics of.
Okay, but our data showing right, and our data showing Ulve is actually priced a little higher. I guess the airport
Ulve is climbing
already
quite well.
being factored in. 5,413 is what prices are averaging.
So I would say Panvel, Ulve, Taloja. You keep them in that order. And if you want to add Kamote, Kamote will be slightly lower, but I think the potential to rise in Kamote is quite good. So if you look at each of these, I would say Panvel is going to be ahead. You have Ulve, you have Taloja, and then you can have Kamote joining in somewhere. So if you keep that order in mind, you can
Okay, I want to ask you. I want to essentially counter what your argument.
Sure.
Now we know that the Thane Belapur industrial belt, that entire road, in fact, there is a lot of money that's coming in. There's a lot of investment that's coming in, and we've been told by a lot of people on the show that it's not just manufacturing. There's a lot of services-led investment that is also happening in this belt. So what is going to actually, get ahead? Is job growth going to be the major driver, or infrastructure which is going to be the major driver in prices over here? Where will you see prices appreciate more?
So, job growth and infra, they are not separate from each other, are they? They're quite one with each other. Overall, the term that we always use is the economic activity. If you look at economic activity, Thane Belapur Road came up about 12-13 years ago. And, I remember Airoli used to be priced at about 1,000 or 1,100 rupees about 15 years ago. And today, it's probably 15 times of that. So that's how it takes place. Infra always comes where industrial activity, where economic activity takes place. Panvel has already gone down that path. Taloja, a traditional industrial belt, is also going down that path. Ulve is something which has just come up very strongly.
Okay.
So, wherever you see economic activity, urban activity taking place, be assured that infrastructure will sooner or later set in. It could have a time lag or something. But if economic activity is coming, that is your indication number one. And that must be of prime importance to any investor. If there is good economic activity
taking place. So you're
taking
saying infrastructure will give the higher bump up, economic activity or job creation will actually give the will be like a driver that will start the growth.
Yeah, infra is an enabler. Without infra,
infra
even if you establish something, it will fall.
Musardik, Panvel, Ulve, Taloja. That is the order in which you can see growth in these markets. So take your pick accordingly, right? Okay. Moving on, we have Chitra who's called in. Chitra, tell us very quickly what's your question.
Hello, sir. Hello, Kavita. I am Chitra calling from Delhi.
Yes, Chitra,
I have a Huda plot in Sector 43, Golf Course Road, Gurgaon. Prices have fallen nearly 30% from September 2013 peak. Now, Rapid Metro is expected to be operational this year. So, my question is, should I hold it if prices are expected to rise in next 6 to 12 months, or sell it now and reinvest in 3 BHK flat in Gurgaon or in Dwarka or on Dwarka Expressway?
Okay, so Chitra has done a lot of homework over there, Arvind.
Yeah. It's good
I'm
to know.
actually just calling in to, get that certificate. So tell us, what should she do now?
Right. I think she made a very important clarification here that it's a Huda plot. Had it been a non-Huda private plot, my answer could have been quite different. The reason is, in Huda plots, the prices are slightly lower. The climb is also not there because there are certain, restrictions. For example, you cannot use the extra FAR while you sell or when you build. So certain limitations are there. Private plots like Ansals or Vatikas or several others, they have slightly better opportunities. So, Chitra, for your query, 6 to 12 months, I do not see, something big happening. There is, of course, metro, there could be something else, but that takes long. It's not going to have an impact in the next 6 to 12 months. So if 6 to 12 months is your horizon, I have a very simple solution, if you want to implement it. If you want to sell this Huda plot, do that and take maybe even if a slightly smaller plot in one of those private developments, it could probably help you, in gaining some upside. Or if you wanted to go ahead and invest in an apartment, then the whole NCR market is open to you, whether you want to look at Greater Noida, Faridabad, or like you said, Dwarka Expressway. You could explore anywhere, each of those.
But tell this very quickly, Arvind, we are running out of time. Gurgaon and Dwarka Expressway, they are at two ends of the spectrum, essentially, as far as prices are concerned. Now, if Chitra does sell this plot of land, where would you suggest that she, invests?
As in an apartment or in a plot?
In an apartment.
In an apartment. I would actually suggest that she could look at Noida, Greater Noida, something like that, because that's where, the prices have sort of stagnated. In the longer run, they will fetch a reward.
So neither Gurgaon nor Dwarka, instead look at
But,
Noida.
it's not an answer that I can provide.
Okay,
Look, an answer has to be found by the person and his
Right,
objectives.
right.
So she has to know her objectives, and accordingly she could take
So
a call.
Chitra, you're better off selling that plot is the answer right now, and you can look to reinvest. Ideally, you should be looking at the Greater Noida market as well. Do your research. Make your decisions, and then you can always call us back, and we will help you get expert opinion on that, right? Thank you very much for calling in. With that, it's a wrap on today's show, Property Hotline, but we'll be back on Monday to answer all your questions related to buying, selling or investing in property. Arvind Nandan, thank you very much for joining us on the show. And as far as you all are concerned, do keep your questions coming in. You know how to reach out to us. You can write into us on email, on Facebook, on our website www.mbnow.in. You can also send in video queries. So if you want to be seen as well as heard on Property Hotline, pick up that smartphone, record your question and send it to feedback@mbnow.in. You can tweet to me. I would love to hear from you. And yes, of course, you can call in live like all the other callers you saw on the show. Thank you very much for tuning in. Keep watching Magicbricks Now.